Today, we're going to go back into the time machine and we're going to go back to when I got my first job out of the Marine Corps. Got out August 11th of 2007. Now, in 2007, we hadn't had the Great Recession of the modern decade, of the financial collapse. Life was, much as I can remember, pretty normal in 2011. Other than the wars going on, that was about the only real thing that I can remember that was a real thing going on in the world. And when I got out, I followed the transition program. I was applying at different jobs. I was taking my skills. I was taking my soft skills and converting them to hard skills into real world. I had all of these ideas. I knew I was going to nail this interview because they told me to go get a suit. And that's exactly what I did. I went to the Men's Warehouse and I walked in there and I said, I need a suit for an interview. Next thing you know, hook, line, and sinker, they got me for $400. That suit went into my first interview, my first and only interview really, was at a generator manufacturer here. And that generator manufacturer hired me hook, line, and sinker as well. Now, what I didn't know going into that is I really kind of sold myself short, because going into that, I didn't really understand my full potential, like really my full potential. And now I'm not talking like my full potential that maybe I think I would say I tapped into now, but I'm just talking my full capability to come out of the Marine Corps with a more solid understanding of leadership than most people my age, to come out of the Marine Corps with this basic idea of how experience works and doing different things, running teams, being a supervisor, being responsible for different things. All of those things were things that I knew, but I didn't really understand them, how to value them and how to convert them into a conversation. And if you've been following the podcast, you know that my confidence wasn't always so high. So when I got that first job, I was like, yes, this is it. I've converted. I've landed my transition. It is over. I've made it. Because I had also heard so many horror stories of how hard it was for veterans to transition. I always felt like I was the lucky one coming out of the Marine Corps. Coming out of the Marine Corps, I was like, yes, I did it. Now, the one thing I didn't do well within that, I did not execute my own internal confidence of what I knew. So I think this happens in a lot with men in our corporate careers, where we go in with all these accolades and what our resume says. We go in with all this ambition. We go in with all this energy that we're going to kind of reboot. This is our fresh start to let go of those old behaviors and go in with this whole new version of yourself. And there's no way this new version is going to fail because it's a fresh slate. What could go wrong? What we don't realize, and what I didn't realize, is all these limiting beliefs that I now realize I was operating on showed up on day one. And they were always showing up on day one, but I didn't really know that. And so what I want to kind of illuminate here today is this idea that when we step into a new role, we don't always have to know exactly everything. But I want you to just evaluate, are you giving yourself enough credit when you go into those new roles? Are you recognizing and even just looking for, what do you want to leave behind from the old company and start over with the new company? All of those things matter. And all of those things can be a big game changer within the idea of who you want to work with and who you want to become. But we often don't spend any time applying that. Same thing happens in fatherhood. I feel like when you have your second kid, your third kid, fourth kid, you kind of go through the same idea. I'm going to let go all of those failures from the first one. I'm going to try again. Now you do get better because it's repetitivity. You understand, you know where the missteps are, you know what wasted stuff to buy a target that you don't want. All of those gimmicks that they get you on the first time around, they don't work the second time. But something about our own personal life doesn't really work that way. And I think some of it comes back to maybe a lack of confidence from our fathers and breathing it into us and knowing where we could go with our life. But at the same time, it could also be just connected to, we don't really know what really gets us excited. So we kind of just operate in this baseline that's always worked. But it's never really got us the results that we wanted. I know it didn't give me the results. Any success that I had was almost always someone else seeing something in me that I didn't even see in myself and helping me understand or vouching for me and giving me an opportunity that I didn't even know how to advocate for myself or how to lead or steer myself toward that. Earlier in the podcast, I talked about owning your career and owning your life by my friend Annie Storch, who wrote the book by the same name. And it's just kind of the same idea. I had no accountability to my own life, no accountability to where my life was going. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was just so fortunate and happy to get a job. I discredited myself from where I could go, entered onto the default path that I thought I needed to go on. Fast forward, I ended up in a version that I didn't really want, in a place I didn't understand how I got here, and I had to reboot and figure out how to go from there. Now, I learned a lot. Had I done it in a different way, recognized what I could have done on the other side of that transition, and realized that a lot of that potential is just understanding yourself and understanding how to show up fully as that self. And it's not something that you temper or that you lower it down because you're afraid to be yourself. You have confidence in who you are. You show up in who you are, and you ask for what you want, and you represent where you know you can add value. So this episode, just think about, where are you not showing up? Where are you not giving yourself the confidence to step into a new career, to maybe own starting a new career search? All these questions are questions that haunt many dads. And the only question I want you to ask is, where are you not looking in your own life to really step into maybe what you didn't miss as a full potential opportunity like I did, and just settling for what you got today? And I'll be back again with you guys tomorrow.